Hello everyone, mabuhay! You're about to watch Research Lecture Series. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, hit the bell icon so that you will be notified with the upcoming series. You may also share the link to your students, classmates, or friends. Enjoy watching! This is a research spectrum that presents a snapshot of the entirety of this research lecture series. In Series 1 to 3, the first tier or level was presented, particularly the meaning, nature, and classifications of research. In Series 4 to 6, the second tier was elaborated, particularly the research methods, qualitative, quantitative, and mixed methods. In Series 7, the third tier or level comprising the research designs, exploratory, descriptive, and explanatory were compared and contrasted. For this 8th series, the different types of exploratory research design shall be presented exclusively. This series aims to present the meaning and nature of grounded theory, sources of data and mode of data collection, data processing that includes open coding, axial coding, and selective coding, and its strengths and weaknesses. Research books provide different typologies of qualitative research. Creswell calls it qualitative designs that include grounded theory, ethnographic, narrative research, mixed methods, and action research. Merriam classifies it as types of qualitative research, namely phenomenological study, ethnography, grounded theory, and narrative analysis. This author considered case study as a process of conducting an inquiry, and she included historical research, among others, as a case study. Matthews and Costellis have classified as types of qualitative research designs, which are ethnographic, phenomenological, case study, and narrative inquiry research. Trokim typifies qualitative research as qualitative traditions, which include ethnography, phenomenology, field research, and grounded theory. Further, Saldanha's classification is called genres of qualitative research comprising ethnography, grounded theory, phenomenology, case study, content analysis, mixed methods research, narrative inquiry, poetic inquiry, arts-based research, autoethnography, evaluation research, action research, investigative journalism, and critical inquiry. This lecture uses types of exploratory research design which are limited to grounded theory, content analysis, ethnography, phenomenology, case study, and historical research. The discussion proceeds with definition and description of the particular type of qualitative research, followed by their sources of data and mode of data collection, data processing and analysis, and strengths and limitations. Grounded theory's main purpose is to develop new theory, a theory that is grounded in data. It is used when existing theories do not address your problem or the participants that you plan to study, according to Creswell. The same author further explains that grounded theory provides a better explanation than a theory borrowed off the shelf because it fits the situation, actually works in practice, is sensitive to individuals in a setting, and may represent all of the complexities actually found in the process. Merriam says that the end result of this type of qualitative study is a theory that emerges from or is grounded in the data, hence grounded theory. The process of grounding is recursive until a new theory is extracted. According to Sprenkel and Piercy, it is a methodology based on the development of theory from data that are collected and analyzed systematically and recursively. The ultimate goal of grounded theory is to arrive at a core category which becomes the new theory that was grounded by the research. The sources of data in a grounded theory can come from interviews, observations, and a wide variety of documentary materials. The modes of data collection are interview, observations, or archival, or a triangulation of these data gathering techniques. The statements obtained from the participants are transcribed in toto. Data transcribed in local vernaculars are faithfully translated into the language required by the publishing institution or by the publisher. Grounded theory applies coding in data analysis procedures. Coding is a multi-stage process of assigning codes or label to qualitative data which are open, axial, and selective. Grounded theory provides a procedure for developing categories of information, open coding, interconnecting the categories or axial coding, building a story that connects the categories or selective coding, and ending with a discursive set of theoretical propositions, explains Creswell. Codes can be researcher-crafted or in vivo, or lifted from the qualitative data. Codes typically consist of no more than 2 to 4 words, according to Creswell. The unit of analysis in grounded theory are the categories. A category is a concept derived from a textual data which serves as the unit of analysis in grounded theory. A property is a subcategory of a grounded theory that provides more details of a category, after which its property is dimensionalized by locating examples in the data. For example, the category mentor has a property sharing expertise and a dimension working with others. The types of categories include core category, major categories, and subcategories. A subcategory is a property of a category. Major categories are groups of clusters of categories that represent different themes. A core category is the ultimate category that is saturated in the textual data which embodies the grounded theory. Grounded theory employs a constant comparative approach wherein all properties or subcategories of a category are saturated until no further insights can be extracted from each category. The researchers remain open to exploring whatever theoretical possibilities we can discern in the data. The purpose of the comparative method is to determine whether or not those lines or segments rightfully belong to the category they were previously assigned to. If they do not, a new category may be assigned or they may be moved to another category that they would best fit into. The data processing proceeds with first, open coding, second, axial coding, and third, selective coding. The process commences with bringing together all the transcripts in a coding frame by enumerating all the items in a single file. To illustrate, the concept of couples compatibility is vague as different people hold varied concepts to the term. A grounded theory can be conducted to shed light on the concept by identifying its specific meaning. The researcher starts with recruiting key informants and conducts an interview or focus group discussion among them. All the responses shall be transcribed verbatim, which shall be placed in the coding frame. The first phase in grounded theory is open coding, which aims to identify categories in a textual document. Open or initial coding is a process of classifying the text of a qualitative data, such as document, transcript, or field notes, and assigning codes to lines or segments according to their salient categories. In this phase, the researcher uses line-by-line coding to begin to identify concepts from raw data. Open codes are provisional, which means that a new different code that best fit the item may be assigned or the code may be rewarded in the succeeding analysis. The writing of memos is important during this preliminary stage of data analysis. Memo writing is about capturing ideas in process and in progress. Successive memos on the same category trace its development as the researcher gathers more data to illuminate the category and probes deeper into its analysis. Hesse-Weber and Levy provided guidelines in writing memos as follows. First, title the memos for easy sorting and storage. Second, write memos throughout the entire research process. Third, define the code or category by its properties found in the data. Fourth, delineate the conditions under which the code or category emerges, is maintained, and changes. Fifth, compare code or category with other codes or categories. 6. Include the data from which the code or category is derived right in the memo. 7. Outline the consequences of the code or category. And 8. Note gaps in the data and conjectures about it. Upon saturation of the textual data in open coding, an axial coding shall be undertaken from the initially coded categories to identify major categories and a core category. Axial coding is the process of relating categories to their subcategories. Termed axial because coding occurs around the axis of a category, linking categories at the level of properties and dimensions. From the open categories, the grounded theorist selects one open coding category, positions it at the center of the process being explored as the core phenomenon, and then relates other categories to it. After which, another open category undergoes the same process until all categories are saturated. The researcher reassembles the open-coded lines or segments by interconnecting or relating categories to their subcategories. Items with similar codes are aggregated together to form a major idea. By reviewing and resorting your common themes, you group categories together in a new form in order to build major categories which you then label, asserts Damon and Holloway. The new codes in the axial coding shall serve as the basis in identifying major categories where a core category will be called from. During the selective coding, or the fourth step, the researcher selects and codes only those categories that are aligned with the core category or main theme. Selective coding begins only after the researcher is sure that she has discovered the core category, according to Cassell, Canlip, and Grandi. Selective coding means that the researcher codes systematically only for the core codes and those codes that are related to them. To code selectively, then, means that the analyst delimits coding to only those codes that relate to the core codes in sufficiently significant ways as to be used in parsimonious theory. For a theory to be parsimonious, it must be clear, understandable, and free from vague interpretations. It is from the selective coding process that grounded theory is established. Pans tells that selective coding uses the same techniques as the earlier open and axial coding, but at a higher level of abstraction. During the selective coding, the researchers look selectively for cases that illustrate themes. The analyst constantly looks at the main theme for what appears to be the main concern of the study. In order to saturate the categories, the researcher constantly looks into a central category that frequently appears in the textual data and that no other item would fit in as core category. Saturation means that only one category or core is retained, which is known as the grounded theory. An example is the dissertation of Fielder in University of Nebraska titled Being There, a grounded theory study of students' perception of instructor presence in online classes. It aimed to explore the perceptions of experienced individual online students at a community college in Texas in order to generate a substantive theory of community college students' perception of online instructor presence. The study employed exploratory design, qualitative method, and Straussian grounded theory model. Data collection is through active interview, face-to-face, and telephone among 16 online students who had taken at least 4 online classes. Active interview is a contrast of interrogation in which both interviewer and respondents are active participants and both are engaged in the making of meaning, and the respondent is envisioned as a storyteller. The sampling technique used was theoretical sampling, a process of deciding what data to collect next while jointly collecting, coding, and analyzing data. The research questions include: first, how do community college students describe their perceptions of instructor presence in the online classroom? And second, what aspects of an online class do community college students perceive as essential to an instructor's presence in an online class? In the data analysis and procedures, the study used constant comparative analysis, coding which are open, axial, and selective, and memo writing for each interview transcript. Each interview session normally lasted for 30 to 40 minutes, which is audio recorded. 10 initial categories were called during the open coding of all the transcripts, which are: 1. Importance of instructor presence. 2. Establishing presence. 3. Grading. 4. Personal stories. 5. Instructor-student connection through discussion board. 6. Student-student connection through discussion board. 7. Direct instruction. 8. Availability. 9. Self-directedness. And 10. Personalized course site. In the axial coding, 5 major categories were identified, which are: 1. Flexibility. 2. Instructor presence. 3. Inviting and welcoming students into the course. 4. Sustaining presence. And 5. Self-directedness and self-teaching. From these major categories, the core category emerges, in which every category revolves, is instructor presence. From here, the researcher came up with a grounded theory called Theory of Establishing and Sustaining Instructor Presence to enable student learning. The strengths of grounded theory are its contribution to the existing theories and flexibility. According to Gironet, the major strength of grounded theory is that it stresses the researcher's ability to generate theory on the basis of restricted empirical material without him or her being captured in theoretical frameworks created by other scientists. Another strength is its characteristic of flexibility. flexibility of design and the ability to make change is one of the strengths of the grounded theory method. As knowledge of the variables increases, the researcher may also have to change direction. The design is flexible and adaptive and changes as the research changes as the area begins to become more clear to the researcher. The weaknesses of grounded theory, on the other hand, are tedious process and time-consuming. Drummond says, due to the rigor used in this design, example, theoretical sampling, and goal of theory development, a grounded study can be time and labor-intensive compared to other approaches. Following an inductive process, the researcher starts from scratch and could hardly draw information from previous researches. Another limitation is the researcher's difficulty of separating himself or herself in analyzing the study, considering the reflexive nature of qualitative research. Qualitative research is reflexive, in which the researcher's discussion is based from his or her own perspectives and not solely based from the point of view of the participants. The reflexive nature of qualitative research is subjective because the researchers are vulnerable to integrate their biases in the discussion of the subject. Saldana added that the researcher incorporates not just personal background experiences but personal ways of living and one's inherent value, attitude, and belief systems. That ends our research lecture series for today. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, hit the bell icon, and share the link to your students, classmates, or friends. Thank you for watching.